Here come the boys. Y'all ready to go swimming, baby? Come on. Give it up. Get out of that water. I tried telling y'all, it's swim lessons, baby.
You know, you meet a lot of people. You hear a lot of stories. Most of them, they blur after a while. The usual arcs, the expected triumphs. And then you get the opportunity to sit down with a guy like Dakota Brekhus. And you realize you don't know a damn thing. This is a story that starts in the dust and the chaos of a place that most of us will only ever see on a screen, Afghanistan. Where Dakota served. Where he fought and where he was shot. The details of that day, they're not for a billboard, they're not for a bumper sticker. They're the kind of story that leaves you quiet. The kind that sits in a room with you, heavy and real. It's a debt paid in blood and courage, marked by a Purple Heart. But here's the thing, that's just the first chapter. The next chapter isn't written in a war zone, it's written on the wide open plains of North Dakota. It's the quiet, stubborn work of building a life back from that noise, of raising a family or finding your footing on solid ground. And where does he find himself now? On the green. Not the kind with camouflage, but the kind meticulously mowed, the kind where only explosions are off of a driver. He's the head coach at Minot State University. Think about that journey. From the heat of a firefight to the calm of a fairway. It's a hell of a trip. So pull up a stool, listen close. This is Swim Lessons, the podcast, and this is Dakota Brekhus. But before we get to Dakota, we got to thank a few of our sponsors that made today possible. How about PSP Network? It's game day. They've been promoting local student athletes for a very long time. We're gearing up for the heart of tournament season. It's the best time of the year for basketball and hockey. We have so many tournaments to list off, including the WDA boys and girls basketball, the WDA boys and girls hockey, a lot of tournaments in Class A, Class B. Check out all the tournaments and more on how to order PSP Plus on psp.network. So excited to be a part of this broadcast and part of the greatness that we're about to achieve with PSP Network. So make sure you check out our scheduled events on our website. That's PSP Network again. For today, your PSP Plus package. Next up, it's Glosso Angus. They're a proud sponsor of Swim Lessons, a podcast, your premier source for registered black Angus cattle since 1973. Glosso Angus cattle showcase dominance, durability, and docility, and they're built to thrive on the northern plains. Check them out today. That's Glosso, Glasoe, Angus.com. All right, let's get into it. Here it is, and this was an amazing story. For the first time in a long time on this platform, I was left speechless a few times. This is Dakota Brekhus. Dude, it is so nice to finally get to meet you, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been excited for this since you reached out. It's pretty cool.
Well, I got to apologize because I got so sick, like we were talking before we hopped on. It was crazy, and we had to reschedule again, so I'm glad we finally got to do this. But I've had the privilege of meeting a lot of unique people in my life. But after hearing your story, I think you might be the most unique. Like the crazy part is how you grew up 10 miles. Is that what you told me, from the Mexico border?
10 blocks.
10 blocks.
10 blocks.
How was that?
It was crazy, man. It was awesome. I grew up in a hotel.
In a hotel?
In a hotel. Yeah.
What? Yeah. Tell me about that.
So it's it's called the Gadsden Hotel in Douglas, Arizona. It's 10 blocks from Mexico. Well, the town is right on the Mexican border. Okay. We have a major port of entry there. And so my grandpa bought it back in the 80s, and my mom and dad met, and my dad was an airline pilot, and my mom was running a golf course up here in Lemoore.
Whoa.
And they're from here. My mom's from Minot. My dad's from up in the Kenmare Mohall.
So that's the connection.
Area.
Oh, your dad's from Kenmare?
Well, he's from Norma, but yeah.
Kenmare Mohall area?
Yeah, okay, that area.
That's up by my hometown, Crosby.
Yep. That's awesome. So it's super cool. So my grandpa bought this hotel. They used to vacation down there. He's a farmer, so they had a house down there, and the hotel came up for sale. He bought it, and my dad was flying, and he goes, "Robin, my mom, do you want to run a hotel and restaurant and bar?" And she's like, "Sure, I guess." And then the rest is history. We were there for about 30 years.
30 years.
So we owned it, yeah.
I bet you have some crazy stories of some guests.
It's wild, man. That's a whole thing. I could go all night.
Did you ever like just go to Mexico for the day and just hang out with some buddies and then come back? And was it pretty easy back then to go back and forth?
All the time.
Yeah.
We go down there all the time. Yeah. It was like, it was normal. We just walk across the line or ride our bikes across the line and go ride BMX in Mexico and have some hot dogs, some wings, maybe a beer or two, and come back across the line and hang out. And Yeah.
There was no wall back then.
There was a fence, but no wall. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like in Crosby, where I'm from, the Canadian border is right there. Some of our land literally butts up to the border.
Yeah.
So when I'm riding four-wheeler sometimes, and I've never seen this until Trump took office, but every day, twice a day, a black helicopter goes right back and forth on that border.
Yep.
And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
We're getting serious.
Yeah, it's wild, man. The whole Canadian border thing it's so open and so you would think it's so easy to get in, but I mean, with all the sensors and cameras and ISR and all that stuff, like it's not wide open.
Well, I mean, growing up in a hotel is wild, but looking a little bit into your story. Okay, so correct me if I'm wrong when I go through this.
Sure.
So you move up to Minot, and you're living with your buddy your cousin, and your house floods after the big flood here in Minot, North Dakota.
Yep.
Then you decide to enlist in the Army, correct?
Yep.
Take it from there.
Okay, so I was working at Western Steel and Plumbing, and was working in the warehouse there, and I had always wanted to join the military. Just the opportunity for whatever reason, stuff happened and it didn't happen. But anyways, I'll never forget it. I was moving. They were redoing Kay's Jewelers at the mall, and I was hauling toilets on a dolly into the mall to take them over to the new K's. And I'm walking in by the recruiter's office there, and Marine Corps recruiter walks up to me and he goes, "Hey man, I'm 19 at the time, 20, somewhere around there." He goes, "What are you doing with your life?" And I looked at him, I was like, "Looks like moving shitters." And he goes, "You ever thought about the military?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, I have." He goes, "Why don't you come talk to me?" I was like, "Well, I'm working. I'll come back afterwards." And he's like, "All right." So drop off my load of toilets and walk back by the recruiter's office. I walk in and talk to him, and I was like, "Hey man, what's going on? Like, what's the process and everything?" And so we sit down, we talk about it, and I wanted to join the Marine Corps. Always wanted to join the Marine Corps. My cousin was a Marine, and I love the Class A's. You know, they're so classy, so iconic. And so I'm talking to him, and we going through, everything looks good. And he asked me, he goes, "Do you have any tattoos?" And this isn't a knock on the Marine Corps by any means, but he goes, "Do you have any tattoos?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." And showed him whatever I had. And he goes, "You got any other ones?" And I got one on the back of my neck, and it kind of comes up above the collar, barely. And he goes, "Oh, you can't have any tattoos above your C3 vertebrae."
Whoa.
And I was like,
that's a legit rule?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't know that.
So I was like, all right. And he's sitting there, and most military members have tattoos all over the place. And he's sitting there in his PTs. So his gray like sweater that says Marines on it, whatever. And I said, "I can't have anything above I can't have any tattoos showing." And he goes, "No." And I said, "Why don't you roll up the sleeves on your hoodie?" And he goes, "Well, I don't have to do that." And I said, "I don't have to join the Marine Corps." And I walked out of his office and walked over to the Army recruiter, and I said, "I want to join the Army. Do you guys take guys with tattoos?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "All right." And they said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Either Special Forces or Aviation." And they were like, "All right, let's go. Let's see what you can qualify for." And I ended up going through the whole process, signing, doing all the PT stuff, getting ready, go down to MEPS in Fargo, and go through the whole, take the ASVAB again, get my physical. MEPS is a weird place.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into that. There's lots of stories on the podcast, but the biggest one is there's an old dude at every MEP station that makes you bend over and looks in your butthole everywhere.
Whoa.
Yeah, they check for hernias and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, every veteran has that story. And so anyways, I go through all that, and sitting with the master sergeant there, and he's like, "What do you want to do? Let's pick your job." And I said, "I want either Special Forces or Aviation. It's kind of what I came here for." And he's like, "Well, your ASVAB score is high enough. You can have pretty much any job you want in the military." And I was like, "All right, cool." And he's scrolling, and 18 series, the Army MOS system is all based off of numbers. So 18 series is Special Forces. So 18 X-ray is Special Forces recruit. 25 series is Aviation. And he was scrolling and happened to stop on 18 X-ray and in between scrolls. And I said, that's the one I want, Special Forces recruit. And he goes, "Yeah, okay, let's see if you can pass an airborne physical." So I go through, do that, and take a test. It's called the D-Lab, the Defense Language Aptitude Battery. You have to learn a foreign language. Took that. I scored the second highest score at Fargo MEPS.
What language did you learn?
Well, I grew up speaking Spanish.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So I already knew Spanish and English. And then they make you, if you make it through the Special Forces selection and everything, once you get there, then you have to learn a new language or whatever for whatever part of the world you're going to be operating in. But the test itself is a made up language. It's series of symbols and made up words and smiley faces and frowny faces, and you have to discern it and go through it all. And the only person that beat me was a linguist. It was a person that came in to be a linguist.
No shit.
Yeah. And so that's at the Fargo maps anyways. So so get through all that, and he's like, all right, cool. Yeah. Special Forces recruit. And then, so anyways, he goes, you want to know when you ship? And this is June 26th or 27th of 2011. So right after the flood. And I said, yeah, it's a delayed entry program. Generally it takes 6 to 8 months. And that's what I told my boss when I was going down to do all that. And so I was like, yeah, I think it's probably gonna be about 6 to 8 months, maybe a year. And Master Sergeant goes, yep, absolutely. It's probably what it's going to be. And he goes down, and ship date to basic training was July 19th. It was 3 weeks.
No.
He's like, oh shit. And I was like, I better make a phone call.
Yeah.
So anyways, I joined up and went in as a Special Forces recruit. As a Special Forces recruit, you go through OSIT, infantry OSIT, which is one station unit training, basic training. And basically then my recruiter had told me too, he goes, the attrition rate at Special Forces is super high, right? To get through and even get to the point of going to selection or anything else, because you got to go to Ranger school and you got to go through airborne school and all this other stuff. So the attrition rate is super high. And he goes, you're probably not going to get it. And he goes, you're going to be infantry if you don't make it, because they put you needs of the Army. And I was like, yeah, that's no problem, whatever. And I got in trouble in basic, lost rank. And so losing my rank made me lose my Special Forces contract. And so I ended up being an 11 Bravo infantryman, which was the best time of my life. I loved being an infantryman. Wouldn't change it for the world.
What a mistake that original recruiter made asking about the tattoos.
Yeah.
He could have had you.
Yeah.
Hey, would it worked out?
It worked out. I wouldn't change the Army for the world. The Army is a great program, great place to be.
How was basic?
It's rough. It's fun when you realize that it's just a bunch of yelling and a bunch of like physical training, right? So you're just doing like push-ups, sit-ups, flutter kicks, mount climbers, like all that stuff all day, every day for 4 months, 5 months. And you're just tired. You don't sleep. You shoot guns, you carry heavy things long ways and go do it all again the next day. I made some really good friends in basic. And I actually got to serve with a couple of the guys that I graduated my basic training class with. And yeah, basic was really fun. One of the hardest things that I've ever done. I'm sure most people would say kind of the same thing, but
when did you find out you're going to Afghanistan?
So my Army career was very fast. Everything was fast. So it was 3 weeks, signed to ship to basic training, graduated basic training November 4th, reported to Fort Lewis, Washington about a week and a half later to add a time to get my stuff and drive out there and report. And I got to my unit. It was 5th Battalion, 20th Infantry, Sykes Regulars out of Fort Lewis, Washington. We're a striker brigade. And so we get there, and the unit that I got put into, they were gearing up to deploy already. They already had their slot. Everyone was getting ready to leave within the next month. I think we even had a couple of guys over there already. And so so I get there, and I'm in Charlie Company when I get there, and my buddy David Riley, he's like, you ready to go to Afghanistan? And I was like, yeah, man, like, that's what we joined for, right? And he's like, yeah. Wow. So I was like, when are you guys going? He goes, we're leaving like in a couple weeks. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you're going to be a late deployer, because I had just gotten there and hadn't gone through NTC or anything. National Training Center. It's where you go with your unit to gear up and get ready to deploy. And so I was like, yeah, I'll deploy late, like March, April, somewhere around there. And something happened in the unit where a guy from Alpha Company became undeployable, and they came over to Charlie Company and they needed a guy. And I was the only one of the new recruits the new guys, the FNGs, that had all my deployment gear, my SRP stuff. And we had gone through all the medical stuff, got the shots, got everything ready for the pre-deployment stuff. And I was all done with it in 2.5 weeks. And so Sergeant Ames comes over and he's like, all right, Brekhus, you're coming with me over to Alpha Company. And so I said, all right, cool. And he goes, you ready to go to Afghanistan? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to deploy in a couple months. And he goes, couple months? I was like, yeah, I got to go to MTC and get trained up. And he goes, dude, we leave next week.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
what? So I was like, well, I better make some more phone calls here. And I called my mom and dad and I was like, hey, I'm deploying to Afghanistan next week. And I was on a plane to Afghanistan in Kandahar on December 4th.
Was that a tough call to make to your parents?
Not for me.
What'd they say?
I'm sure for them it was a hard call. But
yeah, your mom's probably like, oh.
Yeah. And my dad's a Vietnam vet. And
No kidding.
Yeah. So he kind of knew what I was getting myself into. And so he was obviously worried. My mom was nervous as a knocked up nun. And
yeah.
and,
I've never heard that before. That's awesome. So I'm stealing that one. That's awesome.
You can have it. So yeah, man, they came out there. My brother and my sister-in-law came out, my nieces and nephews, and we all hung out for a couple of days. And they took my truck home to Arizona, and I got on a plane, went to Afghanistan, and spent a year over there.
You were there a year.
Mm-hmm.
What's the feeling like when you get on the plane and you're flying to Afghanistan? You know, okay, I'm about to go to war. Because right now, man, when I interview people, I like to put myself kind of in their situation so I know the right question to ask.
Sure.
So to just get a better feel, like you're traveling on a plane over to Afghanistan. When you get close, what's going through your mind? Like, honestly.
It's so surreal, and it's been 10 years ago. Some of those things is more than that. Shit, I was. And
by the way, if you don't want to talk about
no, I'm good.
This is okay.
This is what I do. It's helpful. It's therapeutic for me to talk about it.
That's
so
awesome.
Yeah, no, it was definitely surreal. So we fly over civilian. So again, my dad was an airline pilot. My dad did troop transport missions for American Transair, and then when they went out of business, he went to Omni Air International, and all he did was fly NATO troops to war zones all over the world.
Wow.
For 25 years.
Dad sounds like a legend.
He's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
So anyways, we were like, well, shit, maybe we'll fly over on Omni, and maybe Dad will fly me over there. So there's another story with that. We'll get to that in a bit.
Okay.
But anyways, we fly over on, I think it was World, it might have been Atlas, but it was one of the two. And so you go from Fort Lewis, Washington. We flew up to Bangor, Maine. Had a little layover in Bangor, had some food. They have an awesome welcoming committee for all the troops going through there. It happens almost daily, and it doesn't matter what time of day it is, 4 a.m. or 12 p.m., it doesn't matter. There's about 50 locals that come out and they line the halls and they shake your hands and they thank you. And it's really cool. Yeah. So then we get on a plane from Bangor and fly over to, we flew into Shannon, Ireland is where we flew, we flew into Leipzig, Germany. And then in Leipzig, have a couple hour layover again. And then you jump on another plane and you fly to Minot, Kyrgyzstan, which is Bishkek. It's a troop transition point, right? Like kind of on the border of Russia-ish. And so you're in Kyrgyzstan for 2 weeks while you go through some more medical training. You go through, like, they teach you some tactical combat casualty care, TC3. So if you got somebody that gets injured, you know how to patch them up a little bit before the medics get to them. And so you do that, and you learn how to do like IVs through nods and IVs through everything. Nods are night vision goggles.
Okay.
So you got to learn how to do all that. And you go through like rollover crash training in trucks and stuff. They put you in this cab of a pickup and they flip it upside down, and you have to learn how to get out of it. And it's really cool.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we're there for like 2 weeks, and then it was wintertime. It's cold as shit up there.
I'm sure, right?
It's way colder than here. So then we're there, we get all ready and jump on a military aircraft at that time. I think we went over on C-17 and flew from Minot, Kyrgyzstan into Kandahar, Afghanistan. And we landed Kandahar, and again, it's so surreal. Like, everything's moving so fast. You're with a bunch of guys, your guys, some other guys, and you're like just kind of going through the motions, getting everything ready, and you're doing some training, but not really, and you're just kind of in limbo. And like, your headspace is like, I'm getting ready to go fight, you know? Mm-hmm. You don't know what to expect if you've never been there. You know, the guys that have been there, they know what to expect, but when you've never done it, you just don't know what to expect. Yeah. So it was kind of aloof, really. And anyways, we landed in Kandahar, and I'll never forget it. I saw my buddy Sam Russell was right in front of me on the airplane, and I tapped him on the shoulder when the gate went down and we walked outside, and I was like, Sam, what the hell, man? I thought we were going to Afghanistan. And he goes, yeah, dude, we're in Afghanistan. I was like, this looks exactly like Douglas where I grew up. Like, it looks identical. I mean, the border lights have the big spotlights, on the border, and that's all everywhere. The dust in the air. I grew up in the high desert. Kandahar is high desert. It's about the same elevation, and you see mountains off in the distance. You see mountains off in the distance where I'm at, and like the red haze from the lights and the moon and everything. It just looked exactly and felt exactly like home. And I was like, this is really, really weird.
Yeah, that is.
And of course, there's AKs going off, which you hear AKs going off in Mexico, and you hear gunfire and stuff. So, like, it was really surreal to me landing there and being like, oh shit, I'm not home, but this looks like home.
Did that help a little bit though?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've been pretty good about not ever getting homesick.
Right.
You get a little bit here and there, but I felt comfortable over there the entire time.
Okay, so what were the first few weeks like?
Kind of crazy. So you're going through getting ready so we lived on a COP, which is a combat outpost. But we fly into Kandahar Airfield, which is a huge NATO base, probably, I don't know, a couple hundred, maybe 500,000 people on this base. It's huge. Whoa. It's a huge city.
Yeah.
Airfields. They've got the Kandahar boardwalk. You can look at pictures of it, but there's like a TGI Fridays there, Tim Hortons, there's Pizza Huts, Burger Kings. Like, it feels just like a regular military base. And so, yeah, you're there for like 2 weeks getting ready to figure out where you're going to go, your AO, like TTPs, and you go do some more specialized training, and you go to like zero ranges to make sure your weapons are all good to go after the flights and transporting and everything like that. And you zero in your weapons and figure out what platform you're going to be on. And then I ended up, my boss, I'll never forget it, Sergeant Harris. I used to not like him. He's a great guy. He's freaking awesome. We became great friends. I was the new guy. I've
picked on you a little bit.
Yeah, I was always picked on. But not to be a victim, but it happens to every new guy.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so I'll never forget, I walk in, we go to this training. Everybody has to go to it. It's called Einhound or Battle training. Basically, they teach you how to use metal detectors and GPRs to search for IEDs.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So I go to this training with everybody else, and Sergeant Harris comes, we get back to the tent, and Sergeant Harris calls me over to his bed, and he's like, hey, man, you seem pretty smart. And I'd known him for a week. I was like, you don't know anything about me. You don't know how smart or dumb I am.
I grew up in a hotel, man.
Yeah. It's like, okay, whatever. And he's like, you seem like you got a pretty good head on your shoulders. I'm going to send you to advanced Minehound training, and you're going to be a battalion trainer. You're going to learn how to teach people how to use this equipment when we go out to the COP.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't think I want to do that. You ever grow up playing like with the little army men?
Yeah.
You know the guy that holds the freaking metal detector? Nobody wanted to play with that guy, right? Because he steps on bombs.
Yeah.
That was me.
Oh,
it was my job. And,
that's wild.
Yeah. So anyways, I go through the training and I get pretty good. I learn how to become a battalion trainer. And I did. I was a battalion trainer on the equipment for the entirety of our deployment. And so it was, I got that. And then about a week or two after we got to Kandahar, then we jumped on Chinooks and flew us out to the COP Siachoy. It's a company-sized COP, so there's about 200 to 400 people on this small base with our trucks. We had a ANA, Afghan National Army detachment with us. They lived right on the same base with us, kind of across the wall from where our tents were. We had three platoons, and then so we had first, second, third platoon. We had a weapons platoon, an MGS, like mortars and that sort of stuff. And then we had our HHC, which is our headquarters platoon there, and then we had mechanics, cooks. We had a FET team, female engagement team. Those girls are hardcore; they're badasses. And then what else? We had an EOD team there, and I became really good friends with the EOD team because my job was to look for bombs. I figured I might as well go learn from the guys that work on bombs, and so I became really good friends with them. And so we were there for 6 months at the COP, and then we ended up moving to a FOB halfway through the deployment. And we spent the rest of our deployment at FOB Siachoy, or FOB Spin Boldak over on the Pakistan border, and that's where we finished out our deployment. Came home.
Like the adrenaline that must happen when you're looking for these IEDs, these bombs.
It's terrifying.
Dude.
It never becomes any less terrifying.
Right.
I'll never forget to the very first mission I ever went on. I'm a 20-year-old, 21 at this time. I turned 21 in basic training. I turned 22 in Afghanistan, so I didn't have my drinks when I was growing up or anything. I didn't have that because I was in austere conditions. But anyways, I was a 21-year-old kid and with I can't remember what platoon it was, but anyways, I was with a different squad or different guys than my normal team and normal squad. And Sergeant Champagne he was a ranger, and he came over to us, and he was the leader of this squad, and he's like, "Hey, I need a minehound on this mission. You're our only minehound guy right now." So minehound. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. And it's I think they're like $15,000 or $25,000 piece of equipment. It's a big wand with a metal detector and a ground penetrating radar on the bottom, and you learn how to listen to the sounds that different. The GPR looks for cavities in the ground. Mm-hmm. So you listen for the different warbles to figure out how deep a hole is or whatever to decide if it's could be bomb or it could be a pressure plate or whatever. It could just be a culvert or just a hole, right? And so he's like, "I need you to go with," and I was like, "All right." And the method of clearing is really slow, really methodical. Like it's really, really, really slow, which is not ideal in a war type situation. Yeah. And so I'm taking my time clearing really slow. And Sergeant Champagne goes, "Hey man, I know you're doing your job, but you got to pick up the pace a little bit." And I was like, the equipment doesn't work any faster, Sergeant. And he's like, and he's my security. So when we're using this equipment, you're looking down. So your weapon's strapped to your chest. You're not carrying your weapon at the ready because you're using your arm to use the equipment. So I'm looking down, searching as I'm wanding, and he's my security, which is basically right on my back with his rifle barrel sticking over my shoulder, basically. So if something happens in front of us, like he shoots and I drop and I shoot after I get up. So he's like, "You got to pick up the pace here." And I was like, "This thing doesn't work any faster, man." And he's like, "It's going to work faster. We got to go. Otherwise we're going to get freaking popped out here." And I was like, "Yeah, I understand, but I also don't want to step on an IED." Mm-hmm. And he goes, it was really eye-opening. He goes, "Are you afraid to die alone?" And I was like, "Kinda." And he's like, "Well, I'm right on your ass, so I'm going to die with you. So don't step on a fucking IED." I was like, "Got it." And we just went and we did our job.
You picked it up a little bit.
Picked it up a little bit, and we ended up figuring out that the equipment does work a little faster. Yeah.
So when you do find one, what's the protocol then?
So we had a bunch of different protocols. Right away, it was mark, and you can call up BOD to come blow in place or remove. There's so many out there, not necessarily IEDs, but when the Russians were over, they used to carpet bomb with anti-personnel mines. So they would just like drop these bombs that would explode into little tiny mines that scattered all over the place, and they would just drop them all over the place. So we'd pick up those little mines all the time. So it became a matter of, instead of trying to find all these things and blow them in place or remove them, it became a mark and avoid situation. So you know where it was at, you mark it and you avoid it. And we had tactics that, I won't get into all of it because there's still guys using equipment overseas, but I don't want to give up any secrets. But I mean, you switch up your tactics for whatever it is, how you're avoiding, what you're using to mark, what you're using, where it's clear, where it's not clear, and you're changing it up all the time. So.
Well, I mean, man, you must have done a lot of stuff because you got a Purple Heart, right, when you came back.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what went down?
Yeah, so I didn't get that from an IED. Luckily, I was very good at my job, and I pride myself on that. I never got anybody blown up, and we found a lot of bombs. So I used to know the exact number, pretty general number, and I've kind of forgot it over the years, but it's a significant number.
Yeah.
Of known, suspected, but probable, and then just suspected. There's a ton. So I never got anybody blown up, and that's a big thing for me. So when I got my Purple Heart, it was me and my team leader, his specialist at the time. I think he got out as a sergeant, but Specialist Powers, he's my team leader. He was right in front of me. And then Sergeant Barnes, he was another team leader with us, and he was right behind me. We were all buddies at that point. And the guy popped out of a hidey hole and sprayed us down with a machine gun, and Powers got hit in the right butt cheek. He got the $1 million wound, the Forrest Gump wound. We gave him all the shit about that. I got shot in the right shoulder, and I took one in the helmet. It hit me in the head.
In the helmet?
Yeah. Knocked me out. Didn't know it until later, and then Barnes got hit through the leg, right behind me. And so there's a weird deal. We were looking for a place to set up a checkpoint. So we're walking through this town and looking for a place to set up a checkpoint for the Afghan local police to man, just to make sure that they're catching Taliban as they're moving through there. And so we had, how do I say this without getting anybody? Anyways, we were in a bad spot. And me and my buddy Powers, we could see these two guys a little ways away, probably 75 to 100 meters away. And Powers was our squad designated marksman, and I was a grenadier. I had an M4 with an ACOG and a M203 grenade launcher underneath. And so we're taking a tactical pause, and we're pulling security, and I see these two guys off a ways, and I see one like pop up from behind we worked in his farmland. So they have grape rows over there. They farm grapes. Where we were at, grapes, poppy, and weed is the main products where we're at. But these guys were in grape rows. I could see two of them. One would pop up, and then he'd go down, and the next guy would pop up, and then he'd go down, and they'd do that for a couple of minutes. It felt like forever, but
were they just messing with you, or
they were spotting us?
Yeah.
And so like we had rules of engagement that in order to engage targets, we had to have positive identification on either weapons or spotting materials. So binoculars, radios, walkie-talkies, stuff like that. Cell phones, anything like that. This could be considered spotting materials. And we didn't have any of that. We just had the two guys looking at us. So I told Powers, I was like, hey man, you see these two guys? I said, I'm pretty sure they're watching us. And he's like, yeah, I see them. They are. I said, we should just take them. And he's like, we can't, we got to call it up. And I was like, come on, man. Like, we know they're spotting us. And he's like, got to call it up. So we have Skylar Eden, Sergeant Eden. He was our acting platoon sergeant at the time. Talked to him, and he sees them, and he's like, yeah, definitely spotting us. Then we call it up to the TOC where they have cameras. We got the PGSS blimp that has a big camera that can see for miles and miles. And then there's a raid camera that can see about a kilometer away in 360 degrees. And so the TOC's looking, and they see the guys, but they don't have any PID on any weapons or spotting equipment. They say stand down. And so we're like, okay, we're going to stand down. And sure enough, we start walking a couple minutes later, and within 5 minutes, we get lit up. It is that quick. And so, yeah, that's the one that keeps me up at night. Most of the other ones don't, but that one does. But yeah, so they hit us. Powers gets hit first. I remember this. There's like a rock wall on our right side, and my memory could be distorted, but this is what I remember. This rock wall kind of explodes with gunfire, and I kind of go like this and spin back. Powers gets hit in the right buttocks, and he goes, fuck, I'm hit, and falls over, and there's a little irrigation creek right next to us, and he falls over into the water. And as I'm turning back around, I can see like flesh and blood come over my shoulder, and I don't really feel the round that I can remember, but I can still remember seeing like stuff come over my shoulder, and I was like, fuck, I'm hit too. And I fell in the water next to him, and then Barnes got hit. I don't remember him getting hit, but he got hit at the same time, fell in behind us. And anyways, he get taken out of the water. I came to find out later on, well, I'll get to that in a second. So they pull us out of the water, and I come to, and I remember being real hazy, and I remember hands reaching down from in between these two like little trees, reaching down for me, and I couldn't tell what it was. I was so but at this point, I didn't know that I'd gotten hit in the head and got knocked out. But but I was dazed, and I came up, and I just remember starting to throw fists because I couldn't find my rifle. I couldn't reach my knife, nothing. I just started throwing fists, and all of a sudden all I hear is Brekhus, 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 it's us. And I was like, oh shit. And I kind of came to, and I grabbed a hand, and they pulled me out of the water, and they patched me up, patched Powers up, and Barnes up, and it was Sergeant Ames that was doing it. And I remember I don't want to sound tough when I say this, but I was really calm in the moment. I wasn't really in pain for some reason. I don't know if it was adrenaline or whatever it was. But I wasn't like, I remember Powers and Barnes hurting. They weren't crying, but they were hurting. You could tell. And I mean, obviously I was too, but I didn't really feel it. And so Ames like patches up my shoulder, puts some gauze, and then wraps like tape or whatever around my chest and over my arm. So I'm kind of sitting like this. And I was like, guys, all I want right now is a cigarette. Like, give me a smoke. So I'm sitting there smoking like this. And Sergeant Ames comes over, and he's like, all right, Brekhus, like, where did you get hit anywhere else? And I was like, man, I don't know. I said, I can feel it. I still feel it. There's nothing there, but I could feel the rocks. It turned out it was the rocks from the ball hitting me up and down the like legs and thighs and my foot through my boot. And I was telling him all these places, and he's like, all right, he goes, stand up. And he drops down to like, he has me drop my drawers to see if there's any other wounds. And so I drop my pants, and he's like down kind of on his knees in front of me. I look at him, and he looks up at me, he goes, shut the fuck up. Don't say a fucking word. It's like, you got it, Sergeant. No problem. And he goes, you're fine.
Some comic relief.
Yeah, some comedic relief there. And he's like, you're fine. I'm going to go check on the other guys. And I was like, cool. He goes, Doc will be over to check on you in a second. So Doc Sturdivant comes over, and he's checking my dressing. He's like, this is not right. And he takes all the tape off and gets me so I can use my arm again. Tapes that up with some gauze, and he's looking, and he looks up at me. I still got my full kit, my helmet, everything on. And he goes, hey man, has your helmet band always been fucked up? And I was like, what? And we have these elastic bands that go around our helmet that we can tie down our equipment to. I was like, no. And he's like, hang on, don't move. And so he like moves the camo netting and the helmet cover out of the way. And he goes, oh shit, bro, you got shot in the head. And I was like, what? And I threw off my helmet, and I was like, what the fuck, you know? And there was a bald spot and a big like baseball size welt on my head from where it hit it. And he's like, you're good. Like, it doesn't seem like anything's broken. There's no bleeding on the outside, maybe internal, whatever. They'll check you out when you get medevaced. And I was like, oh shit, okay. So anyways, I calmed down. I'll never forget First Sergeant Pula, when they couldn't get a helicopter to us where we were at. It was too dense. There's a little village there, so they didn't have anywhere to land a helicopter. And we're only about 500 meters outside of the cop, outside of the wire of our cop. And so they rolled trucks out to get us. They put us on the trucks, medevac us back to the cop, and then they brought helicopters to the cop to grab us. And by that time I had my rifle back, had all my gear and everything. And I wouldn't give up my rifle to anyone. I was like, I'm not giving this thing up. Like, I just got shot. Like, I'm not doing that. And they're like, you cannot take that on the medevac bird, and you cannot take it to the hospital. And so the only guy that I would give it to was we had a chaplain on the cop with us. So I gave it to the chaplain, and they're not supposed to have weapons. So anyways, I gave it to him. He was awesome. And then they loaded us up and flew out of there. I got a pretty cool picture I can show you, but they're flying out, and again, like, for some reason, I didn't know if it was the adrenaline still or whatever. I still wasn't in all that much pain. I was probably more in shock than anything. And so we get loaded up on these birds and on this bird and flying back to CAF to get patched up. And there's the medics. It's Powers here, me here, and Barnes here on stretchers on the bottom of this Blackhawk. And Powers they give him morphine to calm the pain, and he's getting checked out and patched up. And they come over to me and they're like, want us to push morphine? I was like, no, get them guys. Like, worry about them. I'm fine right now. And they're like, okay, you sure? And I was like, yep, go worry about them. And so when the medic stood up, I don't know if we got turbulence or whatever, but they have runners along the tops of these insides of these Blackhawks where they hang medical equipment and like EKGs and all that stuff. And I don't know what the hell he knocked off, but it fell directly on my nose and my sunglasses, broke my nose.
Are you kidding me?
And then I started to hurt.
Yeah.
And I was cussing over. They could hear me over the rotor wash, and I'm just pissed. And like, motherfuckers broke my nose, you know? And the medic comes back. He goes, "You want that morphine now?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I want that morphine now." So he hits me with that, and then everything was fine. Get to the hospital, and we're all done up on morphine and feeling all right. We're getting patched up. Nurses are looking at us. There's a NATO Roll 3. It's a NATO hospital, one of the best hospitals in the world, good trauma hospitals. Doctors from all over the world there, and they had a statistic there. If you came in with either any sort of pulse or any sort of breathing, you had a 98% chance of living.
Wow.
It was insane. So yeah, they brought us in there and they patched us up and they hooked us all up with a little bit more morphine to calm the pain and everything else. And I remember the nurse comes over and I was like, "Nurse, I can't see where I got hit. I have high on morphine." I was like, "Will you take a picture of it?" And she's like, What? I was like, "I want to see what it looks like. You know, it's on my back. I can't see it." And she's like, "No, I can't do that." I was like, "I'm asking you to do it. Like, I want to see it." Yeah. And she's like, "Hang on." She comes over with this, like, I'm guessing it's a release form or whatever. I sign it. She snaps a picture, emails it to me, and you can see my nose is all busted up and my shoulders there. And I'm kind of smiling. I'm looking back over smiling at the camera, and you could tell that the morphine was working. And so anyways, we get down there and they release me and Barnes within 24 hours. And then they kept Powers for, I think, 48 hours. And then released him, and we go over to the Warrior Recovery Center. It's an outpatient clinic. And so Powers was there for, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. Barnes was there for a week or two. And I happened to be there for 44 days. I had like no strength in my arm. I couldn't hardly use it. It severed the muscles, the 3 muscles that go through there.
Oh my goodness.
So my therapy was a little longer, but so I was there in outpatient therapy for probably 35 days, a little over a month. And then I ended up staying with a buddy of ours that needed a battle buddy to stay with him. So I stayed with him for the next 10 days before I went back to the unit. But yeah, I never left country. I stayed in country the whole time and went back to the line and went back to work. They gave me a bigger gun.
So when you obviously get hit in the head with the bullets, how did you guys like get out of there? Or can you talk a little bit about that, or what happened?
What do you mean?
So those 2 guys shoot you. Yeah. And did they just get away?
Yeah, they so when they fired off this basically 1 or 2 bursts, belt-fed machine gun, it was a PKM. We know that because we found the weapon. But basically he popped up from what I remember, from a hidey hole and sprayed us down, and then dropped the weapon and went down his hidey hole and ran away. So they never saw him. We had drones in the area. Drones they were over there. They tried to find him. They couldn't find him. They could see the weapon where it was, but they couldn't find him. And
wow.
Yeah. So he got away that time. We don't know if anything else happened, but
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So they pulled us out in trucks and birds and yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. It was a wild time.
I don't know what, I mean, dude, thank you so much for sharing that. That's like, I had chills listening to that, man. We have it so easy here, you know, and it's like, we think of the biggest things that happen during our day-to-day lives are like catastrophic, but I mean, in other countries, it's not like that. It's insane to me, man. And how you got to be who you are today going through stuff like that is pretty amazing, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, just meeting you today for the first time, how nice you are, how genuine. I mean, I can't even imagine that shit. So when you go back to work, how long you were there for? A year?
Yeah, I was in Afghanistan for a year.
Okay. And then when did you come back home?
We got home December of 2012.
Okay.
Well, I got to digress here a little bit. So when we were in that outpatient clinic, this is kind of what I was alluding to, where I'll get back to that part. So when we got shot, when we fell in the water, couple weeks later, another buddy of ours got hit. I can't remember if it was a grenade or something, but they were fine, but they got shrapnel and they got hurt. Anyways, he comes back. He's at the WRC with us, and he goes, Brekhus, it's the first time I'd seen him in like a week or whatever. And he goes, hey man, how's it going? And I was like, fine. Like, it sucks. It hurts. Everything hurts. I can't sleep. My head is just throbbing and shoulders on fire. And he's like, how's your breathing? And I was like, my breathing? Fine. I think it's fine. And he's like, oh. I was like, why do you ask? And he goes, well, when you fell in the water, and he goes, we couldn't find you for over a minute. So I was underwater for over a minute, unconscious.
Knocked out.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that. I had no idea until a week later. And yeah, so he's like, I was like, Jesus, that would have been nice to know at the time.
Yeah.
Like, but no, I think everything's fine. But yeah.
How did they see you? Did they just see you like floating or what?
Yeah, I ended up, my rucksack like popped up, or
Wow.
my rucksack popped up, and it was disconnected at the time. It somehow, there's quick releases, so that somehow popped off. And then they just kind of searched right around that area. They found me and pull me out.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Dude, this plot thickens.
Yeah. So that was, yeah.
So when you go through the brain injuries, like the shoulder thing's terrible. Don't get me wrong. And the fact that you're a great golfer right now is insane to me. But like when the brain thing is scary because like when like right what that doctor said to you when you're telling me that story, like you're worried about internal bleeding. I gotta be thinking, like, were you ever thinking, okay, man, I realize the outside's good, but the inside might be bad.
Yeah, I was worried about it. They checked us out at the hospital, and they determined there was nothing there other than a huge contusion. And, I had a giant, like I said, baseball-sized lump on the side of my head for, I don't know, 3 weeks or so.
How tough are those helmets?
They're designed to deflect rounds, and that's exactly what it did. I should have brought it. I've got the helmet at home.
You do?
Yeah, they sent it back. So what happens in those types of things, if you have PPE, personal protective equipment, they take it for forensics if it to see if it did its job and to see if it actually got hit or whatever. So in the hospital, they came and took my helmet, and I was like, hey, you can't have that. And no, we're going to take it, and give us your name, address, like permanent address, home of record, and all that stuff. And if we run forensics and we determine that it did its job and actually it was hit and actually worked, because we'll send it back to you. If you don't get it back, then you probably didn't have anything there to begin with. So they take and they do their stuff, and I get back. I get out of the Army in 2014. And so this is a year and a half, 2 years later. Still nothing. I'd not heard anything, no letters, no calls, no nothing, no helmet, nothing. And then, all right, well, must not have had anything.
It's gone. Yeah.
It's gone. And then I was at my grandma's house up here. That was my home of record at the time. And I was at my grandma's house watching movies or whatever. And my grandma comes downstairs and she's like, Dakota, you got a package here. And I was like, what? And I was like, I didn't order anything. She's like, I don't know. There's a big package here with your name on it. I was like, okay. So I go up there and I open it up, and sure as shit, it's my helmet with all the stuff, and then a folder of all the forensics and what they found. And yeah, so what they're designed to do is they're all convex, convex. They're all rounded. So if a round doesn't hit direct on, it'll deflect it. Or if it comes in from the front, it'll ride around the inside and come out the outside.
Wow.
So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to them. The Kevlar, they're heavy. I mean, the helmets weigh like 5 pounds or 6 pounds. They're super heavy. But yeah, so it did its job. It round hit and deflected, and actually the doctors and everyone said that if the round would have hit 1 centimeter or less to the left, or hit a little bit more direct, I probably wouldn't be here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
It hit right here.
Right in the middle of your head.
Right on the back right side of my head, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here, man. Holy
yeah,
shit,
me too.
What a story.
Yeah.
So how was it adjusting back to civilian life?
It was tough. I feel like it's tough for everyone.
Yeah.
I feel like I might have had a little bit of an advantage because I was a civilian before I went in. I was an old guy in basic training at 20, 21 years old. Most people are 17, 18, 19 years old. So, I mean, I had worked, in the hotel and other retail jobs, and obviously at the at Western Steel and had a bunch of different jobs. I'd gone to college a little bit. I was flying airplanes at the time. And so I'd moved across the country. So like moving was no big deal for me, moving from Arizona to North Dakota. And so it was tough. The structure was the biggest thing. There's so much structure in the military, and in the civilian world, there's just not. So that was the hardest thing, was kind of learning how to go with the flow and be able to adjust on the fly instead of everything is timelined, and right place, right time, right uniform, and you're going to do just fine in the military. And so that it was tough. Going to college afterwards was really tough. I was a non-traditional student and had kind of a different mindset and outlook on life than most normal college students. Yeah. And I was an elementary ed major, so I'm going to school with a bunch of teenage girls, really. There's one other guy in my class, and to say my mentality is different, is a pretty big understatement. But
what's the feeling like when you get the Purple Heart?
Nobody wants it,
right?
We make a joke about it being the enemy marksmanship badge.
Yeah.
So it's an honor, I guess, is the right way to say it, but nobody in the military wants one.
Right.
It's the one award that you never, ever, ever want. But yeah, I mean, it's there. I wear it proudly. I've got it tattooed on my chest, and I got my CIB tattooed there too, Combat Infantryman badge. And yeah, I'm proud of what I did. I'm proud of the guys that I worked with. Stellar group of men and women that I served with, and was able to become a part of their team. And we worked really well together. We became lifelong friends, still hang out, talk to most of them. Yeah, they're friends that I'll have forever, and they're friends that it's different than just your normal, like I've got my two best friends that I grew up with, and I'll always be friends with them. But the bond that I made with the guys that we served together is just different.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it is, man. That's a bond that can't be broken.
Yeah.
When did you start getting into golf?
When I was a kid. My dad took me out golfing when I was probably 5-6 years old, and been playing ever since. I played in high school, varsity. I tried to play at MSU. I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus, but the coach wouldn't even let me walk on.
What the hell?
Yeah, he said my handicap was too high at the time. And I was like, I'm coachable. I took our team to state when I was a senior. Shot 3 under to get us into state. Shot 3 under at regionals to get us into state. And he's like, yeah, well, probably not anymore. And I was like, you haven't even seen me swing.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not asking for a scholarship. I'm trying to walk on.
Right.
And he's like, no. He goes, play this summer and see if you get any better, and we'll go out and play at the end of the season.
I hate people like that.
Yeah.
Assholes.
Yeah. And we never played, and I never played college ball. But
wow. I mean, look at you go now. I mean, when we set this up, your wife was telling me how you were in Florida, right? Mm-hmm. And you were coaching. I don't want to screw this up, but what's the correct term of the team you're coaching right now for golf?
USA Patriots Athletics.
Okay, and that's with guys that are
amputee athletics.
Amputee athletics.
Yep.
How is that going?
It's awesome. Yeah. They're stellar. They're the most unbelievable group of human beings I think I've ever been around. Missing arms, missing legs, missing fingers. There's Brent Nadaji he lost both of his legs. Greg Reynolds is a super stud. He lost his left arm, and so he plays one-handed. And this dude holds the Guinness World Record for one-arm push-ups in a minute.
What?
Yeah.
How many did he get?
He did 53 in a minute. I hope, Greg, if you ever listen to this, I hope I'm not screwing up the number. But 53 in a minute with a 43-pound weight on his back.
I feel like a giant pussy. I don't know if I can do 53 with two.
We're doing this 100 push-up, 100 sit-up, 100 squat a day challenge with all them guys, and I'm struggling to do all of them. So yeah, don't feel bad.
So to go back to your story, so you're going in for elementary education. Can you take it from there? Yeah.
So I went to Minot State for elementary ed. The program's awesome. I didn't graduate with a degree. I graduated general studies degree. I left the ed program. It just personal issues with politics and some other stuff. So I left the ed program. I became a substitute teacher instead. Got my general studies degree, and I was a substitute teacher and I went back to flight school to learn I wanted to be a professional pilot, and then realized that I didn't have path picked out. So I obviously didn't want to do that very much. And then the coaching gig came up and started doing that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, because now you're the head coach at Minot State, right?
I am, yeah.
Minot State Golf. So what a full circle moment for that guy that turned you down and you got a job just like him.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to learn from everyone's mistakes. So I let 3 guys walk on this year and they're all studs.
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like, and I'm with you, I'm not trying to bash anybody, but when I was a senior, I was going to be a teacher as well. That was my plan. I wanted to teach Phi Ed, move back home, coach basketball. That's what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had like 3 weeks left. And this professor that was the head of teaching at the time called me in. He's like, Dallas, let's have a meeting. So I walk in there. And again, I'm so close to being done. And he goes, I just don't know what you're doing here. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know what you're doing here. I was like, well, I'm going to be he's like, you're not going to be a teacher. He's like, I don't think you're going to be much in life.
Oh,
I think yeah. He's like, I swear to God. He's like, I don't know what you're going to do. You might work at a restaurant. You might just, I don't know. You're kind of a lost cause. I looked at him and he's like, I think you should drop out. I'm like, what? I said, yep. I said, is that it? He goes, that's it. I walked out and I'm like tearing up because all this work, I played college football, was done playing football. That was my senior year. It's right around Christmas time. And I walked two doorways down to Pete Leno, who was another teacher there. And he's like my hero. And I walk in there and he was on the phone and I was crying and he's like, what's going on, Dallas? And I was like, well, I just talked to so-and-so and he told me I should just drop out. And Pete Leno looks at me and goes, shut the door. So I shut the door and he goes, fuck him. Dallas, there's going to be people like that all across your life.
Yep.
They're called haters.
Yep.
You got to ignore them. He's like, I'm going to print off your transcript. We're going to figure out a plan. And that's what we did. And I ended up graduating with generals as well and exercise science, minor in coaching. Moved to Arizona, found podcasting, found broadcasting, and here we are today. But
yeah, look at you go turning.
Yeah, and I years later I saw that guy that told me that, and I didn't say anything to him. I really wanted to tell him like, dude, what the fuck you?
Yeah. Like,
excuse my language, but I hate people specifically that are teachers that act like that because you're supposed to be the guy that's like a life coach. Like, hey, we can get through this. We can do this. Yeah, I agree. There's some bad eggs out there that are probably a lost cause, quote unquote. But if they're trying, give them a chance. Yep. Like you trying to walk on. If I want to try, can I try? Yeah. Like just give me a shot. Give me a shot. And there's nothing wrong with giving somebody a shot. If it doesn't work out after you get a shot, that's what happens. Yep. But you at least should get a chance. And so I hate that people like that go into teaching. It doesn't make sense to me. Why be a teacher if you don't want to help people? Right. And I think I when you said that, it just brought up a little storm in my chest. But for my sake, I took that and that fuels my soul every day I wake up. Yep. Like I got to prove that guy wrong. It's a huge chip on my shoulder every day. Like if I don't want to do a podcast, if I don't want to edit a video or prepare for a sports broadcast, I just think about what that guy said to me. You're never going to be anything. You're going to work in a restaurant. And not saying there's anything wrong with working in a restaurant. Sure. I love food. Yeah. I want to own a bar one day. I think it's the best. But, for somebody to say that specifically when I'm that close to the finish line, it was kind of a shot to the face. But let's get back to you. So do you know Austin Greenheck, by the way? Yeah. You do? I do know Austin. Yeah. Dude, he's dating my significant other's sister. Oh, really? They're engaged, actually. Yeah. So, I think they just got engaged. Right? Yeah. So they're getting married out there. I'm pretty excited. Yeah, out at the airport. Yeah, he's at the museum. Dude. Yeah. Yeah, Austin's awesome. I actually had him on the podcast, and because he would fly to China and back carrying like large cargo. Mm-hmm. It's very he's flying for Atlas. Yeah. So back to you. So when you decide not to be a teacher, how did you end up finding the new gig with the coaching of the golf team, the Patriot team? Well, the Patriot team so it started before I got to be a coach at MSU, but not really. So Jack Jones he's one of the head coaches or one of the coaches for the Patriots, and he's friends with my father and mother-in-law. Okay. And he was talking to them about, hey, we're thinking about maybe starting a golf program with the Patriots. Their amputee softball team is what they are. They play travel ball, and they won McQuaid's I think D last year. Oh wow. Yeah, and they play all over the place. So that's what they do. They travel all around the country and play softball, and they're studs. But he's like, we're trying to transition not fully away from softball, but we want to include golf because some of the guys are getting
older. They're already hurt. Softball's hard on the body. Like some of them are trying to slow down a little bit. So we want to give them another option to stay competitive and keep doing a sport. Mm-hmm. And so the baby of the golf program had started then. And Jack called me and he goes, "Hey, I got your number from Tim and Nita, and I'm Jack Jones and want to talk to you about, this program." And I was like, all right. So we meet up, we go to Ebb's, have breakfast.
Good spot.
It's awesome.
Great spot.
Yep. Speaking of, shout out to Sabrina and Justin and Lars for just buying Ebb's.
Oh, that's who bought it?
Yep.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Sabrina's a stud and she's been there for 20 years. She's awesome.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then Justin and Lars are great guys. But anyway, so we have lunch there and talk about it. And I was like, yeah, man, I think it'd be a great program. He goes, "You want to kind of be in on it?" And I was like, maybe, at that time I didn't really know what was going on. He's like, "All right, well, if we get farther in, I'll call you." It's like, all right. I don't hear anything for, 6-8 months, maybe a year. And finally he calls me back up and he's like, "Hey, you still want to do this golf thing?" And I was like, at that point I was like, yeah, it sounds awesome. And in the meantime of that, so that was the initial conversation. After that, I played in a MSU Beaver Boosters tournament at Minot Country Club Beowulf, and
beautiful course.
It's awesome. Yeah, and this was 2023 when we played, and so my wife called Courtney, and she's the director of alumni engagement over there, and Jenna McKechnie was putting this thing on. She goes, "Hey, we need another player for this tournament. Do you want to come play?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come play." So I show up and Jenna's like, I was like, "Who am I playing with?" And she's like, "Oh, we're going to put you in a group. Like, just hang on. We're waiting for everyone to finish getting in." And turns out I get put in a group with Kevin Forty, who was the AD at the time, and a Hall of Famer that was up to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And so it's me and Kevin and the Hall of Famer, and just the three of us in a 4-person scramble. And I was like, "Hey, do we want a fourth?" And Kevin's like, "Sure. Do you know someone?" I was like, "Well, yeah, my dad lives around the corner. I can give him a call. He'll come play." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, do it." So we tee off on one. Dad meets us by the time we get down to the green and joins us. And
I gotta meet your dad.
He's
awesome,
a stud.
dude.
He's awesome.
Yeah, he sounds awesome.
He's 76 years old and walks 1.5 miles a day. Takes his dogs out running.
Badass.
Plays golf every day. And yeah, he's awesome. He's one of the greatest pilots you'll ever meet. Also, but anyways, I digress. We're playing and get 3, 4, 5 holes into the tournament, and Kevin looks at me. He goes, "Hey, do you ever coach or teach golf?" And I was like, "No, I mean, I've done like kids camp stuff I volunteered at Beowulf to do kids camps, and I've done some other like put on golf tournaments and stuff like that, and just worked with some buddies of mine that are veterans that have disabilities or not physical limitations. Like my buddy Dan, who got shot in Afghanistan, he got shot in the elbow and he can't like extend his right arm. And then my other buddy Clint, who is a stud and he has issues of his own. And I actually worked with him and got him ready for the Simpson Cup, which is it's a Ryder Cup style tournament between US and UK forces.
That's so
it's
awesome.
So cool. Yeah. So I worked with both of them, and I was like, that's kind of my extent of like golf teaching. And he's like, "I think you'd be all right." He goes, "Do you want to be an assistant coach for the college?" And I was like, "Maybe. I've never thought about it." I was like, "Give me a call. We can talk details and stuff." And he's like, "All right, I'll have Eli call you." So a month or two goes by, no call. But it's right during the middle of the season, and Eli was busy and whatever else. And so nothing. I get a call from Kevin and or a text from Kevin in like November asking for Courtney's number. They need to talk about something. I was like, "Oh yeah, here you go." And I thought that might've been the phone call. And then another probably 2-3 weeks goes by, and he goes, I saw him at a function. He goes, "Hey, did Eli ever get a hold of you?" And I was like, "No, not yet." And he's like, "Okay, wait for a phone call." I was like, "All right." And, New Year comes around in probably mid-January. My phone rings and it's Eli. He goes, "Hey, so you still thinking about doing the assistant coach thing?" I was like, "Yeah, maybe. Like, let's sit down and talk details." Mm-hmm. And he goes, "All right, come meet me at my office tomorrow or whatever." And so I go in there and we talk about it. And I was like, "Yeah, it sounds like a blast." And he's like, "You can just drive or you can help coach. You can do whatever." I was like, "Well, if I'm going to do it, I'm all in."
Yeah.
And he's like, "All right, yeah, sounds good." And I started February 1st of 2024. And I was the assistant coach until August of this year, July of this year.
Wow. Congrats, man. What an inspiring story.
Yeah. So then that all happened. And then in the meantime of that, when I was the assistant coach, I get the call back from Jack. And he's like, hey, man, so we want to start this golf thing. He goes, I want you to come out to Fort Myers. I think it was October of 2024. He's like, I want you to come out to Fort Myers, meet some of the guys, meet some of the people we work with, and play in this golf tournament down here with Helding, who's a Marine Corps veteran, missing part of his hand, and then John Mitchell, who's another veteran, is also missing a finger. So we meet these guys and meet a bunch of guys from For the Fall, and then we play in this golf tournament, Marine Corps law enforcement tournament down in Fort Myers, and it was a blast, and working with those guys down there, and then that's when afterwards I got the call back, hey, you're the guy for the job. Let's start this thing.
That's great.
Yeah. So then in January, that was October, and then in January I was down in Lakeland, Florida, running a camp for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think golf is like a way for them to maybe escape, whatever happened to them just for that 18 holes or 9, whatever they're golfing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gives you a release. And
yeah.
Golf's infuriating. It's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got any anger or stuff you want to get out, it's really good to bash a little white ball around a field, and try to make it in this little 4-inch hole, 400 yards away. Like it's infuriating, but it's so fun. And it is a huge release.
Do you ever have any trouble with that shoulder that got shot?
All the time.
What do you do? Ice or ibuprofen? I
don't do ibuprofen anymore, but Aleve.
Aleve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ibuprofen's bad for your guts.
Yeah.
So I stopped with the ibuprofen, but.
So right now, as of today, you're the GM of the Rocking Horse, right? Rocking Horse Bar.
Yep.
How crazy is that place during the state fair?
Oh,
dude, I can't imagine some of the people that stumble over there.
Oh, it's 10 days of absolute chaos. It is. I mean, you see all the crazies at the fair, and then they get drunk, and then they end up at the Rocking Horse, and it's even more crazy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But it's a blast. Like I feel like we've done a real good job with my crew and everyone of cleaning the place up a little bit and trying to get rid of the stigma of, oh, you're just going to go there and get in a fight or be around, for lack of a better term, crackheads or meth heads or anything. We've really done a really good job of cleaning it up and changing the atmosphere. It's super clean. It's friendly. It's welcoming. We don't have fights. It's a good place.
Yeah, I got to make it over there. I'm pretty sure I was one of those drunk people after the Jelly Roll concert.
I've been that drunk guy too.
It's fun, and I had to bring this up. Melissa Spelchin.
Yeah,
I absolutely. I think she's the best.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She came on here, and we learned a lot about her and what she's doing. She's so good.
Yeah, that's actually the first podcast of yours I listened to was hers.
She's one of those people. Amazing. Yeah, thank you, brother. She's just like a light, in sometimes of a dark world. Like she just has a unique way of talking to her. And I knew, so I was broadcasting a volleyball game. I've never broadcasted a volleyball game. And my boss, Nick, was like, you got to go do this. I'm like, okay. So I watched the little YouTube clips and tried to get a feel for the game, knew the knowledge from, sports guy. But Spelch comes there, and I just kind of kept, like, for lack of better terms, volleyball setting up questions to her, and she kept nailing it, man.
Yeah.
Like I'd never met her before, and she was just so easy to talk to.
Yeah.
And then we worked together a couple more times, and then just became great friends. And she is very unique and a person that went through what she went through. I mean, I can't even imagine, but now that she's helping, like I had so many people reach out after that podcast, like, hey, what's her information? Like I want her to talk to my daughter or my son about what he's going through.
Yeah.
And she's the perfect person for that.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, man, we've been at this for a minute. I thank you so much for your service.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, what's a good plug for this Patriot thing where people can support or? So
USA Patriots amputeeathletics.org, I believe, is the whole website. But you can find them on Facebook. You can find them online. They'll be at McQuaid's this year playing. We're actually going to do a golf tournament here the Thursday before McQuaid's for them, a fundraiser. And for 2 hours before the tournament, we're going to run a kids camp for kids with amputations or physical disabilities. And we're going to have coaches out there and the Patriots out there talking to them and working with them and doing a little kids camp for them.
Wow.
And so you can find them there. USA Patriots I think it's USAPatriotsathletics.org.
Well, that's awesome. And also a shout out to your wife who reached out to me.
She's a rock star.
She's amazing. And just the message she sent me like made my day. And then you and I get to meet and I can see us becoming good friends. But a question everybody gets asked on swim lessons is leave us with something. It can be a story, it could be a quote, but something that got you through a tough time and brought you back to the light.
Sure. I'm going to go back. I actually just made a post about this after we got back from Florida, but take a chance. You don't know what that chance is going to come up to or amount to until you take it. So if you're ever considering doing something, take the chance.
Beautiful.
Most of the time it's worth it.
It's a good way to end it, brother.
Yeah.
Dakota, this has been so much fun, man.
That
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
You're the man.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, brother. That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.